Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare states $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today we are talking about a quarter that looks ordinary, spends like 25 cents, and yet has quietly slipped into pocket change history in a way most people completely miss. A 2015 US quarter that, under the right conditions, can be worth way more than face value, and the wild part is that millions of people have already handled it without realizing it. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to show you exactly what makes the 2015 United States of America $quarter Kisatchie special, why collectors keep an eye on it, the errors you should be hunting for, and the real money this coin has brought at auction. And yes, by the end, you'll know if the quarter sitting in your drawer is just change or something worth pulling out and inspecting today. Let's get eyes on the coin. Bring up a clean close-up of the front. You've got George Washington's portrait, sharp and familiar, but look closely at the year 2015 and the mint mark just below it. Philadelphia and Denver struck millions of these, and that matters later. Now flip it over slowly. This is where things get interesting. Roll in a tight shot of the reverse. This design shows Kisatchie National Forest in Louisiana, with a wild turkey mid-flight over blue stem grass and longleaf pine. It's dynamic, detailed, and very different from the older eagleback quarters most people grew up with. And quick note, because people ask this all the time, it's pronounced Kisatchie, not how it looks on paper. Even collectors argue about that one. Here's the twist. On the surface, this quarter is common. Millions were made. Most are worth exactly 25 cents. That's the setup. The story changes when you look closer, and this is where collectors lean in, zoom in on the lettering. On some 2015 Kisatchie quarters, collectors have found double die errors. That means parts of the design, especially letters like "I in God We Trust" or the date, appear slightly doubled because of a misalignment during the die creation. It's subtle. Blink and you miss it. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now cut to a slow pan across the edge. Some examples show clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal blank was missing before the coin was struck. Others show off-center strikes, where the design didn't land perfectly in the middle. These aren't damage. These are mint mistakes, and mistakes are where value lives. Here's a fun fact that makes this coin even cooler. Kisatchie National Forest is the only national forest in Louisiana, and this quarter marked its first appearance on U.S. currency. That alone gives it a place in American numismatic history, even without errors. But let's talk money, because that's what everyone's waiting for. A regular circulated 2015 Kisatchie quarter is face value. Uncirculated examples, especially with strong luster, usually sell for a couple of dollars. Nothing crazy. But error coins change everything. Minor errors can bring $10 to $50 depending on clarity and condition. Strong double dies, off-center strikes, or dramatic clips have sold for well over $100. And in rare cases, high-grade error examples at auction have crossed into the low four-figure range when multiple collectors wanted the same piece. That's not hype. That's how demand works in this hobby. So here's the cliffhanger moment. Most people never check their quarters. They spend them. They toss them in jars. And the Kisatchie quarter blends in just enough to get overlooked. Which means some of these are still out there, hiding in plain sight. Before you move on, ask yourself this. Have you actually looked at your 2015 quarters? Do you own this coin, and if you do, have you checked it under good light? Drop a comment and tell me what you found, or tell me which US quarter design you'd love to add to your collection next. Quick recap before we wrap up. The 2015 United States of America $quarter Kisatchie features a unique national forest design, a real place with real history, and just enough mint errors floating around to make it worth paying attention to. Most are common. A few are special. And the difference is all in the details. Top 2, we are talking about a quarter that most people have already spent without a second thought, even though it represents one of the most important wildlife locations in the United States and, in the right condition, can quietly be worth far more than 25 cents. This is the 2015 United States of America $1/4 Bombay hook. And in the next 3 minutes I'll show you why collectors pay attention to it, the small details that separate common from collectible, the mint errors you should actually look for, and what this coin has really sold for when the right example hits the market. Let's start by putting it on screen. Bring in a clean close-up of the front. You see George Washington, the familiar portrait, the year 2015, and the mint mark just below. Nothing unusual at first glance. Now flip it over slowly and tighten the shot. This is where Bombay hook comes alive. The design shows a great blue heron standing in shallow water, with a rising sun and coastal wetlands behind it. Calm. Quiet. Almost too peaceful for pocket change. Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge is in Delaware, and it's one of the most important resting points for migratory birds on the entire Atlantic Flyway. Millions of birds stop there every year, and this quarter is the first time that story made it onto U.S. currency. Here's the part most people miss. This quarter was struck in massive numbers, which makes people assume it's boring. But value doesn't always come from low mintage. Sometimes it comes from mistakes. Zoom in on the lettering. On some 2015 Bombay hook quarters, collectors have found double die errors, especially in the words United States of America and the date. The doubling is slight, but once you catch it under good light, it jumps out. Now slide to the edge. You'll occasionally see off-center strikes where part of the design drifts toward the rim, or clipped planchets where a piece of the metal blank is missing before the coin was struck. These are mint errors, not damage, and they change the price instantly. Here's a quick cliffhanger moment. Two Bombay hook quarters can look identical from across the table, but one might be worth face value, and the other could pay for a nice dinner. The difference is usually smaller than a grain of rice. A fun detail collectors love is the heron itself. This design is one of the most detailed bird depictions in the entire America the Beautiful series. The feathers, the water lines, even the posture were carefully engraved, which makes weak strikes easier to spot and strong strikes more desirable. Now let's talk real money. A circulated Bombay hook quarter is worth 25 cents. Uncirculated examples typically sell for $1 to $3 depending on condition. Error coins are where things get interesting. Minor errors often sell in the $10 to $40 range. Strong double dies, off-center strikes, or dramatic clips have sold for over $100. High-grade error examples at auction have reached several $100s when competition gets serious. So here's the big question. Do you own this coin, and have you ever actually looked at it closely? Drop a comment and tell me what you found, or tell me which America the Beautiful quarter you're still hunting for. Quick recap. The 2015 Bombay hook quarter combines real wildlife history, a beautiful design, and just enough mint errors to reward careful collectors. Most are common. A few are special. And those few are hiding in plain sight. Top 3, we are talking about a quarter that kicked off a collecting craze, flooded America's pockets overnight, and still hides some seriously valuable surprises more than 2 decades later. This coin looks ordinary. You've seen it. You've probably spent it. But a small number of these are worth far more than anyone expected back in 1999. This is the United States of America $1/4 New Jersey 1999, the very first coin released in the 50-state quarters program. In the next 3 minutes, I'll show you why that matters, the tiny details most people miss, the errors collectors hunt for, and what this quarter can actually sell for today if you have the right one. Let's put it on screen. Tight shot on the front first. George Washington, the year 1999, and the familiar layout. Nothing flashy. Now flip it over and slow this part down. The reverse shows George Washington crossing the Delaware River, a moment that changed American history. Look at the horse. Look at the motion. This wasn't just a random design. New Jersey calls itself the crossroads of the Revolution, and this image is one of the most dramatic scenes from the American story. This quarter wasn't just money. It was a statement. And it was the first state quarter Americans ever pulled from change. Here's where it gets interesting. Because it was the first, millions of people saved them. That's why most New Jersey quarters are common today. But value doesn't come from most. It comes from a few. Zoom in on Washington's horse. Some 1999 New Jersey quarters show what collectors call the spitting horse error. It looks like a thin line coming from the horse's mouth toward the rider. It's caused by a die crack, and it's subtle enough that most people never notice it. Once you see it, though, it's impossible to ignore. Now move to the lettering and the edges. There are examples with off-center strikes, where part of the design slides toward the rim. Others show struck-through grease errors that soften details or create odd textures. These are mint errors, not damage, and they instantly separate a spender from a collectible. Here's the cliffhanger. Two New Jersey quarters can look identical sitting side by side. One is worth face value. The other might make a collector stop scrolling and place a bid. Let's talk real value. A circulated 1999 New Jersey quarter is worth 25 cents. An uncirculated example usually sells for $1 to $5. Coins with the spitting horse error often sell in the $20 to $70 range depending on clarity. Strong off-center strikes or dramatic mint errors can reach into the hundreds. And in rare cases, pristine high-grade examples graded by professional services have sold at auction for over $1,000 when demand spikes. That's not hype. That's condition, rarity, and timing all lining up. So now I want to know. Do you own this quarter? Have you ever checked the horse closely? Drop a comment and tell me what you found, or tell me which state quarter you still hope to discover in your change. Quick recap before we wrap up. The 1999 New Jersey quarter launched a nationwide collecting movement, tells a powerful historical story, and still hides rare errors that can turn spare change into something special. Top 4. We are talking about a quarter that millions of Americans held in their hands in 1999, thought nothing of, and then spent, even though a small number of these are now worth way more than anyone expected at the time. This is the United States of America quarter. Georgia 1999. And in the next 3 minutes I'll show you why this coin still matters, the hidden details most people never notice, the errors collectors actively hunt for, and what this quarter has actually sold for when the right example shows up. Put the coin on screen. Start with a clear close-up of the front. George Washington, the year 1999, clean and familiar. This looks like every other quarter at first. Now flip it over slowly and let the camera settle. The reverse is where Georgia tells its story. You see the outline of the state, a peach right in the center, and live oak branches framing the design. Above it all, the words, wisdom, justice, moderation. That's Georgia's state motto, and this was the first time many people ever noticed it. Simple design. Strong symbolism. And instantly recognizable. Here's what makes this quarter interesting. Georgia was released early in the 50-state quarters program. People were still figuring out what the series even was. Some saved them. Most didn't. That timing matters. Now zoom in closer. On certain 1999 Georgia quarters, collectors have found double die errors, especially in the lettering and the date. Look closely at the words United States of America and the motto. Slight doubling can show up when the die was misaligned during production. It's subtle. Easy to miss. And that's exactly why these slip through unnoticed. Move to the center of the design. The peach. Some examples show weak strikes where details look softer than normal. Others show off-center strikes where the design shifts toward the rim. And then there are struck-through grease errors, where grease on the die caused missing or distorted details. These aren't damage. These are mint mistakes, and collectors love them. Here's the cliffhanger. Two Georgia quarters can look the same across a table. One is just change. The other might be the one collectors are searching for online right now. Quick fun fact before we get to value. The Georgia quarter was one of the first designs in the series to feature a state outline so prominently. That made it a favorite for new collectors in 1999, especially kids, which is why so many were pulled from circulation early. Now let's talk real numbers. A circulated 1999 Georgia quarter is worth 25 cents. Uncirculated examples typically sell for $1 to $5 depending on condition. Coins with clear double die errors often sell between $20 and $80. Strong off-center strikes or dramatic errors have sold for several $100s. And high-grade examples certified in near-perfect condition have reached over $1,000 at auction when demand lines up. That's not common. But it is real. So now I want to hear from you. Do you own this quarter? Have you ever checked the peach and the lettering closely? Drop a comment and tell me what you found, or tell me which state quarter you're still hoping to uncover. Let's wrap it up. The 1999 Georgia quarter isn't rare because of how many were made. It's valuable because of timing, history, and a handful of mint errors hiding in plain sight. Most are ordinary. A few are special. And those few are still out there. Top 5, and last rare coin, we are talking about a US quarter that doesn't even show a US state, features a boat you've probably never heard of, and has quietly become one of the most interesting modern quarters collectors keep an eye on. This is the United States of America quarter dollar Guam 2009, and over the next 3 minutes I'll show you what makes it different, the details people overlook, the errors that turn this from pocket change into a collectible, and what this coin has actually sold for when the right example shows up. Get a close-up of the front first. George Washington, the year 2009, and the mint mark. Looks normal. Now flip it over slowly and hold the shot. This design stops people every time. You see a flying prow, a traditional Chamorro canoe, slicing through the water. Behind it stands Latte Stone Park, with the ancient stone pillars that are unique to Guam. And wrapped around it all is the phrase, Guahan Itano Man Chamorro, which means, Guam, land of the Chamorro. This is one of the very few U.S. coins to feature a native language so prominently, and that alone makes it stand out. Here's the twist. This wasn't part of the 50-state quarters program. Guam was released under the U.S. Territory Series, and many collectors stopped paying attention by then. Fewer people saved these. That's important. Now zoom in. On some Guam quarters, collectors have found double die errors in the lettering, especially around the territory name and the date. Look for slight shadowing or doubling under good light. It's easy to miss unless you know what you're hunting for. Pan to the rim. Off-center strikes exist, where the design drifts toward the edge. There are also struck-through grease errors that cause missing or faded details on the prow or the latte stones. These are mint errors, not wear, and they instantly raise interest. Here's the cliffhanger moment. Two Guam quarters can look identical in your hand, but one might be worth a quarter, and the other could be the kind of coin a collector actively searches for online. A quick fun fact before we talk value. The flying prow on this coin isn't just decoration. It's considered one of the most advanced sailing designs in the Pacific, capable of traveling long distances with incredible efficiency. That history is literally sailing across your change. Now let's talk real market value. A circulated 2009 Guam quarter is usually worth face value. Uncirculated examples typically sell for $1 to $3. Minor mint errors often sell between $15 and $50. Strong double dies, off-center strikes, or dramatic errors have sold for over $100. And in rare cases, high-grade certified examples have reached several $100s at auction when demand lines up. Nothing exaggerated. Just real collector behavior. So let me ask you. Do you own this quarter? Have you ever noticed the canoe or the Chamorro language before? Drop a comment and tell me, or let me know which U.S. territory coin you'd love to add to your collection. Let's wrap it up. The 2009 Guam quarter is unique, cultural, and overlooked, with just enough mint errors out there to reward careful collectors. Most are ordinary. A few are special. And those are still hiding in plain sight. If this made you want to check your change, hit like so others find this video, subscribe for more real coin stories, and watch the next video where we uncover another everyday coin that might be worth more than you think.